The next part we're going to discuss is on attention. Attention, focusing your mental resources on select information. The text talks about executive attention and sustained attention. So executive attention, this is like figuring things out, planning things, thinking about goals, monitoring progress on tasks, dealing with new or difficult circumstances. Those are all going to be executive attention. Self-control might be another one. Sustained attention, basically staying focused on a particular task for an extended period of time, maybe something in the environment, an object, a task, whatever it is you're doing, and you stay focused on that one. The ability to control and sustain attention is related to school readiness. Age 5, focus or sustained attention led to higher achievement at age 9, or there was a correlation between those two things. But what is kind of crazy or interesting about this is the idea that preschool sustained attention, so before kindergarten, that sustained attention was linked to a greater likelihood of completing college at the age of 25. So I'll repeat that. Sustained attention in preschool, greater likelihood of completing college at 25. And so again, it goes. Some of that's going to be genetic. You're going to be born with certain genes to have the sustained attention. And when you have it when you're a little kid, preschool, you still have it when you're college age. Or also, if you come from a good environment where they show you sustained attention, where they help you to build independence, that those things are going to carry over from preschool all the way up into college. Basically, you become who you are. TV and video games lower sustained attention. There's a citation for this in the book. I would like to look at it a little bit closer to see exactly what they're saying there. And they say that media usage with kids has an effect on sustained attention. Quote that I have here: importance, excessive screen time is associated with delays in development. However, it is unclear if greater screen time predicts lower performance scores on developmental screening tests, or if children with poor developmental performance receive added time on screens as a way to moderate challenging behavior. Basically, is it kids that have lower sustained attention that they are more likely to take up screens as like their hobby, or is it does looking at screens a lot actually degrade your performance? And so it's kind of a chicken and the egg thing. If you got a bad kid and you're like, okay, I just need this kid to be quiet, so I'm going to shove a screen in their face, and now they're immediately watching it. Kids love screens. Doesn't even matter what's on them. They just like to see the moving images. This is going to play into some things later on, the ideas of kind of screen addiction and how it can definitely make attention challenging, focus definitely challenging. Although on the other end of that, it's like screens aren't exactly new. We had TVs when I was a kid. We had video games when I was a kid. Atari 2600, we used to play that. But did it lead to less focus? Perhaps. Are the screens nowadays more advanced and maybe they are more addictive intentionally, that they're set up like slot machines to try to capture your attention and keep it for as long as possible? Maybe. Something to think about, maybe talk about in the discussions. Screens and like preschool age kids. Related to this is executive function. It's an umbrella-like concept that encompasses higher level cognitive processes. So goal-directed behavior, self-control, self-regulation. Again, this is where it's at. The ability to control yourself and set your goals. If you can do that, you'll do well in life. One thing that the research has shown is kind of interesting is that secure attachment to the mother in toddler years was linked to higher levels of executive function at 5 and 6. So this is really important. If you're doing well in school at 5 or 6, you might do well throughout school your entire life. And it's been shown that some kids, when they start having issues with their peers at this age, that they have lower executive function in adulthood. So that's really interesting stuff. So you definitely want to foster executive function in kids if possible. Early childhood, there are developmental advances in cognitive inhibition. So this is the ability to block things out. If there's something distracting going on, you can block it out and you can continue with the task that you're working on, that sustained attention. As an example, if a kid's practicing the alphabet and the teacher wants him to try a new way of doing the alphabet, if he tries it and he catches himself slipping in back into the old way and he corrects himself, that's cognitive inhibition. He's blocking out the old way and trying to incorporate the new method the teacher was discussing. Blocking out distracting things that are going on in your life when you're trying to work on a task, that's another great example. Cognitive flexibility, another key to success, shifting attention from one thing to another is one way of putting it. It can also be the ability to deal with challenging or difficult circumstances, like changing a due date. Some students have a lot of issues with this. If you say, okay, well, it was due on Monday, now it's going to be due on Wednesday, it's really hard for them to have the cognitive flexibility to change something like a due date. Right now is a really good time to foster your cognitive flexibility. You know, we're all going through changes with how COVID's going on. And, you know, some of us are having hybrid classes, some of us are in person, but not exactly. Some of us are totally online. And the people that are high in cognitive flexibility, it's not going to bother them that much. They're going to be able to essentially roll with the punches. But if you have a lot of conflict over things like this, things that are going to change, and you have issues with that, that's a problem that you want to look at, because there is one thing that you can be certain of: things are going to change. And if you have cognitive flexibility, you're going to be able to deal with that better. Another thing related to executive function is delay of gratification. And the marshmallow test is a pretty good example of this. I've got a video for that if you would like to look at it. Basically, you put a marshmallow in front of a kid and you tell them that you're going to leave the room. And if they wait until you get back to eat that, then they can have 2 marshmallows. And so some kids can do that and some kids can't. And if you can do it, then you can delay gratification. You can get 2 marshmallows instead of 1. The kids that eat the marshmallows right then, they can't delay gratification. And what they're saying is that their executive function is slightly compromised, and they're going to have issues in other areas of their life because they don't have the executive function. They don't have the ability to control themselves, to self-regulate. But there's also some new research that's saying, well, maybe it's not so much about delaying gratification. Maybe it's about something we've talked about a lot before, low SES. That low SES is going to factor in to whether kids can delay gratification. You might discuss that. We might have a question about in the discussions why you think that is, why you think SES is related to the delay of gratification / marshmallow test. Okay, so during this time also we'll have advances in goal setting, literacy, vocabulary development, and all these are advances related to advances in executive function, and they're all linked to school readiness. Again, all keys to being successful. If you can do these things, you'll do well in life, and if you can't, you're going to have problems. So you want to foster these skills as much as possible early on. All right, so that's executive function. Next, we will talk about theory of mind.